Big baits catch big bass. We've all heard this before, and I'm going to put this theory to the test on an Oklahoma lake in the fall. Let's see if I can put some big fish in the boat on a glide bait. Let's get into it. Today I'm on Lake Uchi in Oklahoma. It's early October, and the bass are transitioning from their summer to their fall patterns. I've heard that glide baits are great during this time of the year, and the water visibility is between 2 to 4 feet on Lake Uchi right now, which should be perfect for this technique. I decided to start on a main lake point with some nice flat rock, which should give these bass a great ambush point to eat this glide bait.
Oh, got him. There we go. Good one. Finally, one of them actually ate it. There we go. On the glide bait, I've had about 10 followers this morning. Finally got that one on the KGB Spro Chad in that bone color. Finally got one to come up and eat it. They're all over these bluff walls right here, guys. I need to get back after it because they are just chewing on this main lake bluff stuff. It has a nice spotted bass, solid 1.5 pound fish. Even though that bait is really big, you can catch some just, quality fish. Nothing crazy here, but I think we're gonna catch some big ones today if we keep after it. So I'm slowly making my way back into one of these shorter creeks that still have this nice bluffy flat rock on it. But what I found is that I'm not really getting any followers further back into these creeks. I've gone into the back of 2 or 3 of them, and for whatever reason, I'm only seeing fish following my bait whenever I am out on the main lake, those main lake points and kind of the steeper points in general. I'm kind of using old school live scope today, which is my eyes, and I'm trying to just see how many fish are actually following my bait, the size of the fish. I caught one smaller one, but I have seen 2 or 3 really nice fish following this bait, and eventually one of those fish will commit if I keep after it. But I need to narrow down exactly where these fish are setting up. And right now I am pretty much able to eliminate, I feel like, these kind of halfway in the back of the creek areas, or really any place that isn't out there on the main lake. I'm also not seeing a ton of big gizzard shad around, so hopefully I can find an area that has some of those bigger gizzards. Usually that helps this bite as well. Oh, got him. There we go. Another spotted bass on the glide. Man, I'm not seeing that many fish on following the glide, but there are a few, and these spotted bass are the ones that are committing, but there are a few good largemouth out here as well. So, I mean, it's not too bad picking up these smaller fish along the way, especially when you're trying to get a limit in the boat. So not too bad. Another quality spotted bass. If these largemouth start committing in the afternoon, which I think they will, then this glide bait could be a really good deal. But that's another nice spotted bass right there. There's a lot bigger fish in this lake than this though. So this is a nice one, but we're gonna keep rolling and try to catch some bigger ones. There we go, guys. Nice spotted bass on the big glide. Get the guy back down there. Man, that fish came out of nowhere to eat that thing. That is now 2 fish in about 1.5 hours, maybe 1 hour and 15 minutes of fishing this glide bait, which is not bad. I've seen quite a few followers on this thing, probably about like 10 or 12, and I've had those 2 commit. I honestly would like to be seeing more fish following this bait than what I am. I have seen a few gizzard shad around, big 6 to 10 inch gizzard shad, which let me know that there are big bait fish in this area, and it makes sense then that this glide bait can work. I just need to figure out where the better quality fish are and where there's more numbers of them, because honestly, I'm just not seeing, I don't think, enough fish based on what I normally do with this glide bait. You want to be seeing a fish every, 4 or 5 minutes following the bait if you can. That'll let you know you're in a really good area, and you're not going to get every fish to commit, maybe 1 in 20. So if you're not seeing that many fish, it's going to make it difficult. Honestly, I've got more fish to commit right now than I would expect just based on the numbers. And really quick too, I just want to go over this retrieve before I forget. All I'm doing with this steel, guys, is basically just chopping that glide bait. This Spro KGB Chad Shad is designed to be a chopping glide. I've actually used some of the original Chad Shads, which are awesome. It's what this bait is based on. And the hinge on this bait has a really wide range to it, which allows you to chop it super well. So if I just kind of pitch it out into the water here, you can kind of see what I'm gonna do. All I'll do is basically just try to keep that bait within 1 foot or 2 of the surface, almost like a top water. At times I'll get a little bit deeper depending on how long my cast is. And I'm going to work the bait mainly with my reel. I'm using a 5-to-1 gear ratio reel with 25-pound Berkley big game. And I'm just working that bait side to side, chopping it with my reel handle. You basically want that bait moving like a spook, almost side to side. Now you can change it up and go a little bit slower, faster, but that bait really reacts super well to what I'm doing down there. And as long as you are keeping that bait moving and trying to keep it up in close proximity to those rocks, usually if a fish wants it, it'll come up and get it. Even in these flat, calm conditions, sunny skies, you just kind of have to keep grinding on it and commit to it pretty much all day, and eventually you're gonna put 5 in the boat. Oh, come on, fish, eat it. Yes, get it. Oh, there we go. Stay on there, fish. You got that thing. Another spotted jaw, but got that glide. Watched him come up and eat that. That is so fun, guys. I mean, that bait is really big compared to these spots, but they are definitely up here. I think these largemouth that I'm seeing are just not quite active yet, but these smallmouth, or these spotted bass are getting it. And it's still fun catching them on that glide bait, even though they're not the biggest fish. And they're right where they need to be, right on this thick slate rock. I'm actually gonna throw the drone up and show you this because this is a pretty sweet little spot. But this is the type of rock they need to be on, so beautiful fish. Let's get this guy back down in the lake and I'll throw the drone up so you guys can see this rock right here is absolutely perfect for what I'm doing. Oh, got him. There we go. Largemouth finally. Got him on the different color. Oh, golly, came off. Oh, there's a 2.5 pounder. Dang it. Looks like that hook that got caught on the back of the bait and that gave him leverage and he pulled off. That is not great, but did switch to that little thread fin shad, gizzard shad color. It's a little bit clearer. It seems like that at least made that largemouth commit there. Dang, I needed that fish though, because it's right on the same type of stuff I'm looking for too. But that was one of the ones we needed. 2.5 pounder. That was bad luck right there, honestly, because that hook got pinned against the top of the back. There was nothing I could really do on that one. The hook was normally free, but because it got caught up there, lost him. But hey, good sign that they're committing to this color at least. And hopefully that means I can keep running this and we have a color that might be working. We kind of know what type of area they're on. Now it's just a matter of sticking it out, putting this bait in our hand, and making it happen. Okay guys, time for a quick Bridgeford break. Today I'm gonna be eating some of this sweet teriyaki jerky as I try to figure out how to catch some better quality fish. We've been out here for about 2 hours and we've got a few things figured out, but I wanna really go over what we've learned so far and hopefully figure out a strategy for this afternoon that we can use to put better quality fish in the boat. For that though, I wanna give a huge shout out to Bridgeford Beef Jerky for supporting the Fish in the Moment YouTube channel. Definitely check out Bridgeford at your local dollar stores, Walmarts, or gas stations. They're a great brand that support bass fishing. They sponsor a lot of professional anglers and they help me put out the content I do on this channel. So definitely check out Bridgeford at your local stores. Now, in terms of what we've been doing for the first 2 hours here, we've basically been throwing this glide bait around and I've actually seen quite a few quality fish chase this glide bait. And I just had one a second ago that nosed right up to it. That was about a 3.5 pounder. I feel like these fish are getting a little bit more aggressive as we actually get later in the day, which is interesting. We actually have some cloud cover rolling in, which will also potentially help this bite. Now, I've figured out that the majority of the fish I'm catching are on flatter banks in the mouths of these shorter creeks that have that slate rock I showed on the drone. It seems like they're not on the very steep banks and they're also not back in the creeks. So I've kind of narrowed down where I'm seeing the most fish. And that's one of the big things about this glide bait is you can see a lot of these fish following your bait as long as you have some good polarized sunglasses on. And I'm able to determine both the size and the number of fish. And that's one of the main things when you're fishing a glide bait or really any bait up shallow. You need to experiment with a bunch of different types of cover, bank angles, depths, all kinds of things in the first couple hours of your fishing day. Then narrow it down to whether they're on the main lake, back in the creeks, the flatter banks, the steeper banks, the type of rock or grass they're on. Whatever you're doing, you usually can figure it out regardless of what bait you're throwing. So let's try to find some of those flatter main lake banks with that slate rock and start throwing this shad around because the conditions are changing in our favor. We should be able to put some big fish in the boat. Okay guys, I'm back up here shallow throwing the big glide bait, and I've actually been throwing it now for about 25 minutes, and it's crazy because I have not seen a single fish follow this bait in the past 25 minutes. Not a 10-incher or a 3-pounder. This morning, I was seeing fish follow this bait back like almost every 10 casts, whether it was a really little one or just some shad or bluegill or something would follow it. But right now, these fish are not even interested in it. And it's really crazy because the conditions seem what you would call ideal for a moving bait or like a big bait like this glide bait. We have some cloudy skies that rolled in, some wind. Actually, the wind's pretty heavy on the other side of the lake, so I came to a little bit calmer pocket here, or a calmer stretch. But basically, the fish are not interested in this bait, even though the conditions would maybe indicate that the bite should be better. The only thing I can kind of attribute it to is that we have some cooler temperatures right now. The air kind of feels like it has a little bit of a chill to it compared to this morning. It was pretty warm. I was actually almost sweating a little bit. So that change in pressure and that change in humidity, all that stuff had an impact, it seems, on these fish. And it's almost like when you're fishing a topwater frog. When you have those kind of humid conditions or it feels a little bit muggy even, or nice and warm at least, the fish will eat the frog really well. They'll eat this glide bait. But when the conditions get like this, I just don't think that this glide bait is really going to, pull a lot of fish to it and get a lot of bites. It's just kind of crazy to me. Now, the question is, what can I do to actually get these fish to bite? One of my initial thoughts was to just pick up a jig, and I did that for a few minutes, and I may just keep doing that and just fish some of these steeper walls and these same areas basically where I've been seeing a lot of these fish on the glide bait, and maybe by fishing a jig through these areas, I can get some of these fish to actually commit and cooperate. Though I haven't really had much success with this, even though I fished 2 or 3 really good looking stretches with this jig. There may be another bait like a Ned rig or a shaky head or wacky worm or something that I can be doing to get these fish to commit. So I'm gonna try that for a little bit longer, but it's just a very interesting learning day for me. And it isn't always about catching fish, guys, when you come to the lake. Sometimes it's better to learn these things, like when to fish a glide bait and when not to, so you don't waste a bunch of time on your next fishing trip. Even if you don't catch fish, that's fine. You just have to learn from it. Don't duplicate the same mistakes twice, and you'll become a lot better fisherman. Well guys, that glide bait bite pretty much died on me. I was trying it for about the last hour and a half and didn't see a single quality fish follow my bait. We did have a big pressure change where the wind started blowing, it's getting a little bit cooler, and I think maybe that just got them off that bite and they're not coming up to look at the bait anymore. So I'm going to try to graph around here a little bit with my electronics, and I'm also maybe going to try some shallow grass just because we have this cloud cover and a little bit of wind. It's not going to be here for long. I don't really know exactly what's going on, but I want to at least try a few different things. I think I might be able to catch some fish cranking out here with like a 10XD if I find any quality fish grouped up. And then if I don't find any fish grouped up out here, I may be able to catch some fish also up in that shallow grass. There's a few fish kind of scattered out, but nothing that looks like bass. There's a lot of non-bass in this lake. So I'm gonna graph around for a bit, see if I can find anything. And if not, we might head to that shallow grass. Grab the hover rig out while these guys are busting. Busting all over in front of me. Oh, got one literally as soon as that bait hit the water. That hover rig, dude. Oh, that's a freaking good one too. What the heck? Out here in the middle. I thought they were, oh golly, jumped off. That was like a 2.5 pounder right there, guys. Holy cow. I thought they were all small. I mean, as soon as that thing hit the water, that good one ate it. 2.5 pounder, at least. The wind is going crazy. These fish are everywhere. Just working that hover rig through these fish. Oh, they're hitting it, hitting it. Come on, fish, eat it. Here. Oh, come on, get it. Got him. Good one. Man, is this a bass? Feels good, whatever it is. This might be oh, it's a white bass. Okay, well, I'm a little bit confused now because the first fish I lost was a nice largemouth. And since then, the only fish I've been able to actually get to bite are white bass. And I know there have to be some more largemouth out here. The question is, how do you get them to bite? I want to throw this spoon maybe down on them, or something a little bit different that could get these fish to commit. I don't know if like those fish right there at 60 feet are bass, or if those are white bass. I'm gonna try to fire that spoon over on them, because usually that will result in a little bit better bite. It's kind of hard to cast the spoon though with wind and everything, but I'm gonna try to throw that spoon over there. Seems like I can only get these fish to bite though when they're actually actively feeding on the surface, which is interesting. Even if I drop a bait right on their head, like a Demiki rig or a hover rig or anything. So not really sure what to do about that either. So we're kind of gonna experiment with these fish for just a minute more, because there are a bunch of them. And honestly, if we take our depth range down, you can see there's even more fish deeper down there. So I don't know if I need to Demiki rig these fish, maybe try to catch some of these fish that are deeper. Maybe those are the largemouth. So let me keep experimenting for a minute.
And that's it for this video, guys. I didn't catch any more fish offshore and only had that one good largemouth bite out of those schooling fish. It was a pretty frustrating day because I felt like I was getting that glide bait bite dialed in, and then the conditions changed halfway through the day and they completely shut off. This is something that happens though throughout your fishing day, and you need to make adjustments on the fly to adapt to changing conditions. I didn't quite get it done on this fishing trip, but I learned some valuable lessons I can take to my next trip on the lake. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. We'll see y'all next one.